This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire, the no-show. Who set you back because they didn't show up on day one, or day two, or ever again. And now your product launch is delayed because you're talking to alien abduction podcasters to track them down. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can help make sure your next hire sticks. In fact, businesses who use LinkedIn are 24% less likely to reopen a role in the next 12 months. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here. Now, I'm going to ask you a question and I want you to give it some thought. Is there an area in your life where currently you're pretty good at a particular thing, but it would be daunting for you to test how good you are outside of your comfort zone? And that could be sports, that could be career, that could be anything. And the reason why I ask that is that you're about to listen to a hypnosis session that was created for a Jiu Jitsu player. And they were good in their town, in their state. They were exceptional. They were the winner. They had a track record of just winning and winning and winning. And yet there was a fear of being tested outside of what felt like it was within their comfort zone. Now, the fascinating thing is that this client was very aware of Maslow's hierarchy of needs and that the top need is for self-actualization. And self-actualization is essentially a complicated way of saying being the very best that you're capable of being in an area that is uniquely important to you. And when you think of it that way, it becomes easy to figure out that if you are amazing at something and you don't really value that thing, that's not self-actualization. So if you're not into, let's say, tiddlywinks, you become the world's best tiddlywinks player, kind of so what? But if you have a passion and you ignore that passion, again, self-actualization is very difficult. And a lot of people prefer, because it's safe, to be the big fish in a small pond. They get used to the validation and the success within their little patch, but it feels daunting to go beyond that. However, the people that tend to become exceptional and really self-actualize, they don't worry about not being very good or being compared to other people, because actually the whole point for them is to grow, not the validation. Now, the validation can come, and it tends to come if you have a pursuit to get better and improve, but winning isn't the point. For example, if you're reasonably good at tennis and you only played 10-year-olds at tennis, you're probably going to win every tennis match, but you're unlikely to get better as a tennis player. Now, as I said, it was jiu-jitsu for this particular client, but the essence is the same, that to actually take the path of more challenge and more humility, but improvement is going to lead to a path of self-actualization, whereas the path of avoidance and playing small is probably going to lead to, at some point, either regret or just a sense of what could have been. doesn't have to be deep regret. It could just be, I never really figured out how good I could be in this area. So if any of these principles resonate with you, you might get some value from this particular session. So I would encourage you to find a quiet, comfortable place, the kind of environment that you're not going to be distracted or disturbed, to relax and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in that feeling of resourceful relaxation. And as you exhale, allow yourself to release any feelings of tension, stress, any pressure, any overwhelm. Just allow the outward breath to be that release valve. That's it. Breathing in relaxation and exhaling tension. Almost like each breath takes you deeper and deeper relaxed. That's it. Scan your body for any clues of tension, particularly around your eyelids, jaw, neck and shoulders. That's it. Just connect with this moment, this breath, and the opportunity to allow your attention to move away from everything happening outside you, and instead moving toward that quieter world within. And I wonder if you can assess the weight of your arms or your legs, the rate of your breathing, and even the small muscles on your forehead and around your eyes beginning to relax. And just allow that comfort to spread all the way across your face and through your jaw and your neck, across your shoulders, knowing that you do not need to force yourself to relax, that you can simply stop preventing relaxation and allow your body to settle in its own way, at its own pace. Because there are times when progress comes from effort, from those drills and studying and analyzing and all of that repetition. But there are other times when the actual progress comes from allowing something at a deeper level to reorganize. An insight that leads to a switch being flipped, so that what you already understand intellectually can then become something you feel, you know, something you trust, so that it becomes something you naturally act upon. You already know how to become absorbed, and you know how the world can disappear during a moment of focus. Maybe a conversation or a demanding project, or just a particular sequence or a role in which there is no past and there is no future. There is only the here and the now, the space, the timing, the movement, the next intelligent response. And whether it's through a memory or a moment or an idea or a thought, allow yourself to enter that state now. Not asleep, but totally immersed, absorbed, not disconnected, deeply connected to the part of you that knows why this matters so much. A wise man once believed that every human has an acorn deep within, but not every acorn gets to turn into the mighty oak tree. Perhaps somewhere within your imagination, you can become aware of an acorn resting in the palm of your hand, small, contained, and yet carrying within it the pattern of something far greater. An oak tree does not need to be inserted into the acorn. Its potential is already there. But potential is not the same as fulfillment. The acorn must be planted. It must leave the safety of the surface, disappear into uncertainty, to eventually break through its own protective shell and push against the weight of the soil. And if that acorn could think, perhaps it might interpret that pressure, the cracking of the shell, as something going wrong. It might wish to remain protected, intact, comfortable, small and unchanged. But the shell that once protected it eventually becomes the very thing that it must break. And the pressure it might once have feared becomes the resistance against which it grows. And I wonder if your unconscious mind can begin understanding this distinction, that not every uncomfortable feeling is a warning. It's true that sometimes discomfort means danger, and it's also true that sometimes discomfort means development. And sometimes that sensation deep in the pit of your stomach does not mean turn back. Sometimes it means this matters. This is the edge. This is the way. This is where the next version of me begins. And so that feeling deep there from now on could mean something new, rather than it meaning there's a car crash ahead. What if it could mean a crossroads, and not destruction, but instead initiation? What if it's not the evidence that you should escape or run away, but evidence that you are approaching the boundary of the person you have already been? And beyond a boundary is where expansion begins. The Stoics believed that the resistance is exactly the way. And I want you to think of a small pond, perhaps a pond you can recall from childhood, or maybe a pond you've seen more recently. And I wonder if you can imagine now that you are standing beside that pond. And maybe you know the pond well. Maybe you know its depth, its boundaries, and maybe there are fish within it. And I want you to imagine, within this pond, you have become the big fish, strong, respected, recognized, and you have earned that recognition. And there is nothing false about the victories that you have achieved there. But remaining the biggest fish in a familiar pond can offer a seductive kind of safety, because you could just stay there and keep winning, keep receiving evidence that you are good, and avoid anything that might challenge the image you've built. It would be so easy to protect the idea, the identity of being a winner. But what if that came at the cost of discovering just how good you could actually become? And maybe you can imagine a future, a pathway that stretches out into the future. And maybe you see that as an honest consequence of a choice. I want you to see a version of you that stays in this small pond, procrastinates until it's too late, misses the deadlines, finds a small niggle of an injury to justify not competing at a higher level. And you could always tell yourself that you did intend to compete. And what if that version is like a child holding on to a comfort blanket? That version of you could have imagined that if only you did compete, well, then you would have won, while still avoiding the possibility of losing or being exposed. But what if what you're really losing is not exposure but expansion? One avoided tournament makes the next avoidance easier. And gradually, intelligence becomes useful for creating increasingly convincing explanations. For an intelligent mind, there can always be a reason. The timing was wrong. The organization made registration difficult. The preparation was imperfect. The coach being unavailable. Or the event simply did not matter enough. And while each explanation may sound plausible and reasonable, but beneath all of them is the same transaction. The temporary protection of the ego. But at the cost of growth. There is limitation built into this strategy. But let's see where this future takes you. The biggest fish in the smallest pond. 5 years, 10 years, maybe further. And I wonder how much growth and improvement you sacrificed. And maybe you notice the older version of you looking back towards the years in which the body was capable, where the opportunities were available, the larger arenas were waiting. And that version of you still has trophies from the smaller pond. But unanswered questions remain. How good could I have become? What would I have learned? Who might I have become if I'd just been willing to find out? And what if this timeline is the real car crash? The car crash was not entering the competition. The car crash was avoiding the competition. Life is about choices. And you can choose to stay in the small pond, ego intact, and only later could there be the regret of not ever knowing just how good you could have been. Allow that future to fade. Once you see it, you can avoid it. It was just information, a warning from the future. I want you to imagine, beyond the pond is a lake. And for a big fish in a small pond, the lake is daunting. Because there are fish in that lake much bigger than you. Larger, deeper, and less predictable water. And here in this pond, you can be sure you won't always be the biggest fish. And here, it does not guarantee victory. But in the lake, it offers something far more valuable. Truth, feedback, expansion, and perhaps even self-actualization. But the lake is only for the courageous. Those who are willing to test their capability, their competency. This is not a place for ego. It's a place for growth, humility. This version of you enters the tournaments. competes beyond their capability. There is profound difference between feeling resistance and obeying it. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is recognizing the fear, smiling, and feeling drawn. Like that is where I go next. That's where I find the edge. And I wonder if you can see that version of you. Studying, drilling, preparing, knowing it's better to be the smaller fish in the lake than the biggest fish in the small pond. And you also know that if you ever become the biggest fish in the lake, a greater lake exists beyond it. And that feels exciting, not daunting. I want you to get a feeling of what that future looks like. Learning, growing, becoming more and more courageous. Win or lose, it doesn't matter. You are getting better. And I want you to get a sense that the mat does not lie. And if the mat doesn't lie, then you do not need to lie to yourself. And saying that you will definitely win is a lie. And you do not need to pretend that losing would feel wonderful. You can want to win intensely, and you can prepare to win, and you can bring everything you have. And you can know that whatever happens, you will harness it, you will use it, and that is stronger than certainty. That is a belief that reality cannot break. The belief that you can become better through everything you are willing to face. Maybe there was a time that being a winner just meant being the person whose hand was raised. But what if the real winner does whatever it takes to be the best they can possibly be? That's it. What if being a winner means being the person who repeatedly chooses growth over the protection of being in this small pond? If that were true, no opponent can take that identity from you. And while the result may be outside of your control, the choice to participate fully remains yours. A winner is not someone who only enters when victory is likely. A winner is someone who refuses to organize their life around avoiding defeat. A true winner tests themselves. They study the result. They make the adjustment. And they always come back better than they were before. That's it. And really connect with that future. And perhaps that version of you is drawn to the tournament, drawn to competing with the very best. Not just knowing, but feeling that you'll either win or you'll learn, and both take you closer to the version of you were always meant to be. Because if there is an acorn inside, it won't turn into the oak tree. By staying in the small pond, it will only reach fulfillment. By testing against reality, full reality. And as you hold that thought, it's time to return. As you start to float back to the here and the now. So take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. Connect and calibrate into the here and the now as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.